We're recording. Thank you very much for your patience this morning. Technical issues are always very fun. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us, wherever you are. This is our third session in our series. We're going to be activating electronic resources, the electronic resources we purchased last week, and we're also going to talk about claiming in Alma. I'm Jenny Drager. I'm a technical services consultant, and also Yala is here with me from support. She's a fan favorite of our customer base, and so and one of my favorites as well. We are using WebEx for this series. If you do ever encounter any audio or video issues, just exit and rejoin the WebEx session. The meeting is also being recorded, and it will be made available to you on the series dashboard. And so if you ever don't, get to one of these meetings or want to listen to them again, they're always available there. And then if you do have any questions, Yala is going to be helping me answer questions that come in via chat. Please make sure you select all panelists. That way she can see them and I can see them. And that's how we also make our Q&A document for every week that we also post to the series dashboard. So it's important that we both see them. Thank you very much for that. So this is where our series is. We're in the third week. We have 3 more, so we'll also be together for the next 3 weeks before this series is over. I did stretch out the timing of this series to 90 minutes today. It'll take about 60 minutes, and I'm trying to get all the content down to 60. So I'm just making adjustments on. We stretched this out one more session to keep our sessions a little shorter, and I did hit the mark with this one. So this is our agenda for today. We always take a quick look at the workflow, where we are in the acquisitions workflow, and then the roles associated with what we need to do for this part of Alma. We'll talk about tasks, electronic resource activation tasks, and what Alma is doing there for you. Then we're going to go in and activate the portfolio we ordered last week and the collection that we ordered last week, and then cover claiming. That's where we are. Here's our workflow. And remember last week when we ordered our resources, we did these first 3 shapes. Now right here, this week, we're going to be talking about activating resources. Oh, I have a little typo there. I better fix that. And then next week, we're going to be receiving our physical items. So that is where we are this week. Now, when we talk about roles, you definitely need the electronic inventory operator role. That allows you to activate electronic resources. If you ever need to be able to delete electronic inventory, you also need the electronic inventory operator extended role. Those 2 roles work in conjunction with one another. The extended role does not work independently of the operator role. If you need the permission to delete, you need them both. There's another role that you should also have called the CDI inventory operator, and that's important to give to anyone activating resources because there are decisions to make about the CDI or Central Discovery Index and activation and full text activation, etc., using the wizard. So for people doing this work, also give them the CDI inventory operator role. So let's talk about electronic resource activation tasks. So Alma has an activation task list, and you can access it either if you like the widgets, if you enable the task widget on your Alma home screen, and remember that is only tied to your login. You're not turning that on for everyone. There's a section here called electronic resources. Or if you like to use the task manager up at the top of the screen, which is, they're both the same. It's just 2 different ways to activate them. And in the last year or so, we've reorganized this task manager to mirror the widget. And I think it's a great visual and organizational improvement. So under here, you also have that electronic resources menu. You can open it or roll it up, open it, and you'll see those same tasks right there. Now, new tasks, anytime Alma adds a task, it always goes to the unassigned tab. If you are familiar with task lists and how they work, this one, they're the same across all of Alma. So this one works exactly the same way. And we'll touch on that in just a few slides. Now, one of the information in the task is relying on, like if I come into my Alma here, open up. Now getting here into my Alma, if I look at electronic resources, see how some are past that due date. One is assigned to me, some are unassigned. So those are the new ones that just get put onto the task list. And then these past due date ones, they roll up into these ones that are assigned to you and unassigned. But these are kind of your little flags, like those should have been turned on by now. So remember, Alma is always trying to draw your attention to those things that need your attention. They're raising a little flag saying, pay attention to me, not the things that are going swimmingly, but those things that need help moving them along. Now, how does Alma know about these due dates? That comes back to the purchase order line. On the purchase order line in the vendor information section, you might have a value here, expected activation after ordering in days, or e-activation due after ordering in so number of days. So if these values are populated, these were filled in the vendor account. And when you attached, remember when you create a PO line, you're buying them off, you're associating a vendor account with it. So those values would come over into your PO line. If you do not fill those in or leave them 0 on the vendor account, which is perfectly valid, then you may fill in a hard date this way. So, and if you do fill in an expected activation date, if you fill this in, this value overrides this value. So it's all in your workflow. It's all, you know, when you want that flag to be raised about, hey, when should this thing be activated? So would that be, you know, 7 days, 3 days, whatever it takes typically to activate an electronic resource. Now this is looking at the task list, and there are the 3 tabs, the unassigned tab, which all new tasks will go to. Once I open a task, it'll move from the assigned to unassigned tab to assigned to me. Now, when I have something assigned to me, I can always click on the row action menu and release it, which would be push an item back to the unassigned tab. Depending on my roles, I may be able to assign a task to another operator. Some libraries I work with, they don't bother handing out the assignments, but they have their staff. You go to the unassigned tab and you work off of that list to get them into your assigned to me, so we know that people are working on them. Okay, so let's go in and take a look here at my task list. So here are electronic resource activation task list. Again, here's the unassigned list. They can be filtered certain ways. You can, so you have different options up here. One of the options, what if there's an interested user? Now these are electronic resources, so whether or not they have interested users, if you mark them that way, but that might tell you, hey, maybe we need to fast track this. Let's make sure we follow up on this because someone's waiting for it. As I mentioned here with the assigned to me, that is where I could, if I release assignment, it's going to go back to the unassigned tab. Now, I also want to draw your attention to this list of statuses. This list of statuses is available here at the top of the task list, and it's also available if I open up one particular task. This is the same list of statuses plus a final one of done. This list of statuses is something that you as your library can completely control. It's just a table to fill in. And the goal here is that if you have a workflow, if you have steps that your staff takes to validate that a resource is activated, you know, the connection is tested, whether it's proxy or whatever you need, you have validated that the resource is on, it's accessible in discovery, your bar, and maybe even that the article level activation is working, operating, caught up, you know, everything's good. So if you have that series of checks, you can customize this table to prompt your staff to move through these steps. The order you put them in the table is the order they appear here. And some libraries, they actually number them. They say, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the steps are, so that their staff understands that this is a, you know, an ordered kind of list, an ordered list of statuses to move through to make sure everything's ready to go for your borrowers. So that is the purpose of that status option here. Let's get back over here. So this screen is, this slide is just talking about those statuses and where do you alter it under configuration, resources, general, and then ETask statuses. So edit the code table, might want to consider numbering the lines. Another thing about these statuses, as you go through and activate them, they will remain on this task list, which are open tasks, until you have to go in there as a staff member and choose done. So, and that is very intentional. That it is a step that you need to take. That will close the task. It'll wrap it up, put a bow on it, and set it aside. So just activating it, moving through a wizard does not remove the task. You have to go in and choose done. So let's go through and look at, we're going to activate a portfolio, and then we're going to go activate a collection. Now, I do, when we talk about what is a portfolio, since it took me a little while for my brain to wrap around this term and what it is, so I always kind of just reiterate it to customers. A portfolio is that serial or monograph title. It may be a standalone. It may be part of an electronic collection. So if you just ever hear portfolio, you can search portfolios in Alma. Electronic portfolios, they maintain the specific coverage, services, is a full text or not, linking information, relevant for a particular title. So like you have a title record of an electronic resource, that's that generic data. The portfolio level is the more specific data. It includes who is your material supplier for this? Who is your vendor? How am I linking to it? If it's a journal, what are the coverage dates? That type of information. And the best way, I had someone describe it to me, is think of a portfolio as an item record for an electronic resource. The details are in the portfolio as opposed to the title, because you could have access to an electronic title from many vendors due to collections that you have, but the portfolio is that very specific from this vendor, this linking, etc. And that data is the knowledge base part of the community zone that we are leaning on. So what do we do? It's a very simple workflow to activate a portfolio. You locate the portfolio in the task list, you choose activate from the row action menu, confirm that you're about to activate the service, and you're done. So let's get out of here and back to my friend Alma. And I'm going to take Here we go. This one is the one I'm going to take. So you'll see here from the row action menu, I have an option to activate. I'm just going to say, you're about to activate. Are you sure you want to continue? Yep, I sure do. I'm done. That's all it took for a standalone portfolio. Now I'm going to click confirm because I do want to show you what is in the portfolio record and what you could see and what you could maybe still change if something's not working, if the linking's not working or anything isn't happening as you expect. So we're going to, here's the portfolio availability. Activating it, what I just did, toggled this from not available to available. This was an ebook. So electronic material type from the bib. So it's set here to book. You could, set something here, but we see that value right here. But if you wanted to, sure, why not? But the bib is already telling us that this is a book. So that's kind of, you don't necessarily need to do that. We have a timestamp of when it was activated today on April 7th. It should have been activated. So this is a PO line that's been hanging around in our environment. Boy, this is really overdue. Who are we? We're accessing this through VLE books. Interface is optional, but it's helpful information. It's part of a selective package. So it's that standalone portfolio and so that's, we got it just by choosing it individually. Now, when you create a purchase order line, we have, remember how you have an owning library? So that got populated from the purchase order. You don't have to do that yourself. Access is current. This is a book. It's not a journal, where a journal may have some sort of embargo on it. You could set the access type. Well, it's already here, set to current, so you don't need to do that again. If you could also set the counter platform if you wish, because you will be getting, you'll be getting that data, whether is, as long as the vendor does have counter compliant reports, so you can, analyze that data, see what your cost per use is, see how much this resource is being used by your borrowers. If I come to the linking tab, this is why you purchase from the portfolio, because this is that information that's in the Knowledge Center, essentially the knowledge base part of it. What is the linking? What are the parser parameters? All that the vendor told us, and you get to utilize it. Now, one of the things that this link requires is a linking parser parameter. So some vendors do require that whatever this account would be, whatever this value would be, and that would let your borrowers in to access this resource. So you would get whatever this is from that provider. Or actually, Athens ID might be for Open Athens. I know that like ProQuest and EBSCO, I think, also have linking parameters. I forget if Gale does or not. I get confused about who does and who doesn't. So a number of vendors do have these parser parameters that are required. Do you need a proxy for this resource? This is where that can be set here, and it's at the electronic portfolio. So that's where you would want that to be done. Just going through these tabs. What is the coverage? This is a book, so it's everything. But if this were a journal, you would see some date information in here. If there's an embargo, that information again coming from the community zone. Acquisition is going to link back to our PO line. You can choose to set a license here, not required, but if you do have your license data in Alma, definitely helpful. I'm just going to grab one of these. It helps your course reserve staff. It helps your ILL staff. It helps your reference staff. Alma always has plenty of places for notes, so you can place notes here at the portfolio level if they're needed. Now, related portfolios, if this were part of a collection, we would see those related portfolios here. This was a standalone purchase, so this is empty. We're going to take a look at a collection in just a moment. Now, this history tab last night when I did this presentation, this tab was hanging up, and I'm not sure why. I am also using a sandbox, which are a bit slower than your production servers. So our environments are on sandboxes. So I'm not sure why that was doing it. It's doing it again today. So I'm not gonna just keep sitting on it. So that's a look at what the electronic portfolio editor is. If you need to go in there, oh, here it is. So there we can see the history. Who did it, when they did it, what they changed. You're always leaving your footprint in Alma or your fingerprint, whichever tells more about you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So that was activating that resource. Now, let's say I did confirm the access, but I haven't confirmed the proxy yet, so I'm going to leave it there. So access is confirmed, but proxy isn't yet. So now it is sitting in this status. But let's say I then check the proxy, everything is good. And so my last step would be to mark this as done. This is a task, this electronic resource activation task list is opened. By marking it done, it will change it to closed and it gets it off of the task list. You can always go back and look at closed tasks. Done. So you can always go back and look at them, but just remember your open tasks are the ones that still need your help with the process. Okay, so that was activating a portfolio. Now let's activate the collection, a collection. So a collection is, a group of electronic resources. It might be an aggregator package. It might be a selective package. It might be a database. A database is another type of electronic collection, but a database does not include portfolios or full text services. So you're not managing those individual resources. They are like A&I databases. That's the product they're selling, not the content, not the linking the full text content. So the types of collections that we're talking about right here are aggregator packages and selective packages. Now, how do we do this? It's the same beginning in that you locate the resource in the electronic resource task list. You choose from the activate from the row action menu. But now, because this is a collection, we're going to get thrown into an activation wizard, and there will be more steps here. So instead of looking at these slides, I'm going to go in and actually do this work, and then we'll take a quick glance at these slides. The slides here, they're talking about the options that you have and why might you want to enable them, disable them at this point. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my unassigned tab, and let's do the Pittsburgh Courier. So this was, we bought the ProQuest historical newspapers. This is an aggregator package. It's at that opening step. And then I'm going to choose activate from my row action menu. We could tell by this little bubble, we're going to get this trail, breadcrumb trail up here, and we're in a wizard. So whenever you see a wizard in Alma, you see these kind of icons at the top. So this collection has a collection level metadata record. By default, Alma has this mark fib as suppressed because generally your borrowers aren't going to be looking for this collection they're looking for those individual portfolios in the collection. So I've worked with libraries that say, oh no, we want to show that collection level record. Fine, go ahead and uncheck that box. Where other libraries are absolutely fine keeping this suppressed. You still see it in Alma, but out in the public interface in Discovery, you will not see it. So since this is suppressed, this is potentially setting the proxy at the collection level. Where we really, where we're going to set the proxy is at the service level, not this collection level. So I'm going to leave this no. Now the next section here on the wizard is talking about the central discovery index. We subscribe to only some titles in this collection. Well, this is an aggregator package. So when you subscribe to this collection, you get everything in it. So this is a no. If this were a selective package, then you might click yes here. There is also an option here, do not show as full text available in the central discovery index. So if you are searching the central discovery index in your discovery system, whether it's Primo or Summon, if you don't show this as full text available, it just means don't show the flag that this is full text available, even though we have activated it in Alma. Now, why would you want to do this? I have an example later in the slides. But for this situation, we're purchasing this. We want it to be exposed. We want our borrowers to link to it, find it. So we're not going to check that box. Now, this resource provides full text access. And so these next box, activate the service. So turn this on, make the service available. And then because this is an aggregator package, we're also going to check this box, automatically activate new portfolios. If the vendor adds a new portfolio to this, because it's an aggregator package, heck yeah, turn it on. This is one of the things that Alma takes that administrative task off of your shoulders by automatically activating those for you, as long as you check that box. Now, I want to mention, if you look at our documentation, a lot of the workflows say to not check this, run the job, then come back and check this. But I reached out to some customers, that I've known for a lot of years, and I asked them what they do here. And the ones that I pulled say they just check this right now. It saves time. And so that's what they do. And that's just what I'm suggesting based on what I hear from your Alma counterparts. Now, here's some more, fields to fill in if you need it. Again, I'm not a big fan of adding extra information unless it's helpful, unless I really need it. Now, this is talking about, hey, we need that client ID. That's that ProQuest customer ID. It's either 5 or 6 numbers. You'll get that from your ProQuest rep. If you need the proxy setup, this is again at the service level, not at the collection level. So again, if you need it, you would just select your proxy here. If you don't, leave it no. And now we need to tell Alma what portfolios are we activating. Because this is an aggregator package, turn it all on. So you leave this first option, activate all, activate the complete collection with no selection of portfolios. Flip the switch on all of the portfolios in this collection. If this were a selective package, you might have an Excel file of ISBNs, ISSNs, a combination, and you could run that file through, and Alma will look at those values and turn on those portfolios based on that data. Or if you had I would only do this if I had a very small number of portfolios, you could do a manual activation. So you can let Alma activate the collection and then you go through and pick the individual portfolios. For me, that'd have to be a really small number to do it. but this is an aggregator database, and I'm sorry, an aggregator package. And we always use these, if you're testing this out, especially in your sandbox, the ProQuest historical newspapers, they're small collections, so they're really good testing things, because when I run this job, it goes really quickly since it is a small number of portfolios. Now here, when we get to this screen, this is your last screen, either run the job or bail out of it. And we have 5 portfolios plus the collection plus the service. So that's where these numbers are coming from. 5 plus the collection plus the service. So that's 2. And I just run the job. The job is running. And if I come in here to monitor jobs, if I don't get here quick enough, it's done. So it's done. And we can go in here and look at the history. I can look at the report. And so you'll see here it says 6 instead of 7. So on this screen, the collection and the service are mushed together as one count. So whatever that means. Or I don't know if it's because, I don't know. So that's why the number is 1 off of that last screen we saw. So let's go. So we've run the wizard. If I go back to my task list, and we will see, because remember how I opened this from the unassigned tab, but as soon as I started working on it, it jumped to assign to me. And maybe I've checked the access, access is confirmed. And I still haven't done the proxy confirmed yet. Let's say I go out and I do that. I confirm that proxy. Everything is good. I've done my searches. Now remember, for article level, because maybe you do like an ebook, you go out, you check it, that's great. But maybe for a collection with article level or even chapter level metadata linking, that activation or the availability of those article or chapter level links can take 48 to 72 hours in the CDI, because you activated an Alma. Alma publishes nightly to the Central Discovery Index to say, turn this on, but the indexing that happens, it might take a couple of days. So let's say this is a collection and you have an article level search that you want to do to make sure you verified an article. You might need to wait that 2 or 3 days to make sure that's working in the CDI. So this is going to indeed sit here in limbo until you confirm that. And then once you're done, mark this as done, closes the task. And Alma's giving us this warning about the suppressed bib record. And this double negative throws me. Am I sure I want to continue? Yes. Okay, so what were our options? Remember, as you work through the wizard, you might need linking parameters from certain vendors. You may need to enable the proxy, and this is at the service level. You see both of these are at the service level. What are our options with electronic collection information, marking the bib as suppressed? Proxy, do not show as full text available even if active in Alma. If it's okay, and then this option, we subscribe to only some titles in this collection. If it's an aggregator, you may say no. Now, as a side note, some people say, if you subscribe to only some titles in this collection, So since it's aggregator, you would leave it no. If it's selective, you might set that to yes. Some libraries set that to no just so all the articles show anyway in the filtered search. And it might just prompt your users to do a resource sharing request, or maybe you'll buy that resource if you get a request for it. So you have some control over the CDI and the articles that show. We talk about that more in other training sessions, but I do like to bring it up because it's an option you have. Activating the service, make the service available, activate new portfolios because it's the aggregator package. As you're closing this out, activate all option, again, because it's the aggregator package, and then you can see that summary. Now, if this were a selective package, we subscribe to only some titles in this collection. Yes, that would say only show, those active portfolios in Alma when you do that filtered search and their associated articles. Or if you hit no, they'll all be turned on. And like I said, if your users click on them, they'll be prompted to do a resource sharing request. So that's a workflow you can choose. You still want to activate the collection service. You still want to make it available. But if this were a selective package, you may not activate new portfolios because you haven't bought them yet. And then and then this slide just talks about if this were a selective package, if you have that Excel file to upload or the manual activation, where you pick and choose. Now, one of those options, and this comes up, why is this in here? Do not show as full text available in CDI, even if this is active in Alma. What this will do is it will prevent content from certain collections from appearing in the results in discovery. Like if you have an open access collection, it's free, let's say it's huge, but you don't want that content to overtake your paid content. So what you can do, you can check this. You would say do not show. So do not show, and that means do not show in the filtered search. So when your borrowers come into, your searchers come into discovery and search, they won't see that content. But if they expand the search, so out in discovery, hold on, let me get out of here, escape, let me show it. So let's say I'm doing this CDI search here, and I wouldn't see it. So let's say now this one, is showing here as open access. But if I had one of those open access collections and I said, don't show it here, it would not show here in the filtered results, but it would show on the expand my results with the linking, etc. So it's an option. You don't have to take it. I would not probably start with that. I'd probably let them show and then see what your results look like, see what your researchers say, test things out for yourself, see what the feedback you get is, because you could always alter this setting back in Alma. So that's that workflow. We also have another setting, depending on when you implemented Alma, this feature, this piece of functionality was released only in November here. So when you are searching in the blended search, so you are searching local content plus the central discovery index out in discovery, you might see duplicate ebook results. If you do, some libraries say, I don't care, the more the merrier, show them all. Some people don't like that. So if you don't like, oops, sorry about that. Boy, this mouse is real touchy today here. So if you don't like those duplicate ebook results, you can, if you go into Discovery, Search Config, Search Profiles, and I would need to open up my blended search profile, and you can exclude CDI ebooks. And so then only ebooks from your local Alma will show, but any chapter level information from Central Discovery Index will show. So again, only if you see those duplicate ebooks in a blended search, this would not affect a local search or strictly a central index search, and only if it bothers you. Yala, are there any things we need to go back and touch on?
Right. We had a few questions that I'm compiling. So one was about the advantages of do not show in CDI even if Alma. So as you said, it helps with open access. So sometimes you want to reduce it in the filtered search and sometimes you don't. And correct me because you know more than me. And also I think for ebooks, which you mentioned, sometimes you just don't want those duplicate results. So,
and remember that do not show, this is a collection by collection decision, where this one is more broad. So maybe only certain open access collections you would want to hold off on. You know, it's not across the board, all open access, I'm not showing.
Good.
So realize the importance of, and the flexibility of this setting, let's say. But that's across the board, only on blended searches.
Okay.
So many little details.
Great. And another question was, and this is the last one, about expand my results. Does it search outside of CTI? Or what does it mean, expand my results? Thank you.
No, and I'm glad someone asked that. So what this means is, so if I come in here, let's do my favorite topic, because why not? So when you come in here and execute a search, oh wait, I don't want this checked. So when you execute a search, your researchers come in and execute a search. This is everything you have activated, excuse me, in Alma, meaning when a borrower comes in here, every single result should get you a link to whatever the content is, whether it's open access, whether you subscribe to it. They should get to the service, you know, the full text of the article or the abstract, whatever it is. There are no dead ends, let's put it that way. So what you have active in Alma shows in this, we call this a filtered search. When you click on expand my results, you are searching the entire CDI that is by default active for searching, for searching. So, but your borrowers may see no online access. So I would have to log in. I would have, and that would give me a prompt for maybe resource sharing, purchase request, etc. So if I log in, then I could get other options here. So expand my results. You see how your borrowers can get some dead ends, but they have made that choice to go beyond your subscription or what you own here. I hope that's clear. Okay, let's talk about claiming. We've got about 10 minutes left. We talked about that vendor information that shows, so for physical resources, expected receipt after ordering, when we want to reclaim. For electronic resources, it's that activation date that we saw in the other screenshot. The data comes from the vendor account, can be pre-populated. 0 is actually, these can be blank, but having information in here is helpful. How do you get to see claims? You can either access them through the task widget, the task menu, or you can go straight to acquisitions, review, purchase order lines, and claim. To do this work, you need the purchasing manager or purchasing operator role. And when you get into the claims list, if we go look at it, I want to really point out the facets, because you can limit down to purchase types, whether they're electronic, whether they're print, whether they're one-time, whether they're subscription. You can limit by vendor, library, etc. So there's a lot here. Electronic purchase type with tasks also show on the claims list. But when you're working off of, so whether you look at the electronic task list or the claim, you're going to see them both. But as you take care of things on the electronic task list, it's cleared from this claims list. So personally, I think it's easier for the electronic resources to work off of that task list. But the claims gives you a picture of everything that you've ordered, print or electronic. Now, there is a claiming job that runs every night, and that's when Alma's looking at those dates on the PO lines and saying, when should I mark this as a claim? When should I draw your attention to this order that's not here yet? And we've recently, I put a link in here to this documentation because there's information about the workflow here. Now, Alma can send these claims for you if you like. Let me bump this up. Boom, there we go. I want to bring your attention to this right here. For one-time purchase order lines, the claim is sent automatically if the auto claim parameter is set to yes. So Alma will send out your claim for you via EDI or to an email in a vendor record, if you want it to do that. If you don't want it to send it, you can alter this this table to say no here. For continuous PO lines, so that is auto underscore claim underscore CO for continuous. For continuous lines, it's also sent automatically if that customer parameter is set to yes, whether the claim is sent via EDI or email. Now, if the auto claim continuous is set to no, the task is generated, but the claim is not sent. So in this case, the claim must be sent manually, or if you actually do your claiming in a vendor interface, you can let Alma do the alerts for you to know to go over to that interface. If Alma will talk to that interface, my gosh, let Alma do the work. But if it won't, you have an option here to still let Alma do the work for you, and then you just go take the action. Alma will bring that to your attention that it needs to be followed up on. So that's why I've got that link in the doc. So claims processing can happen by default. You can also generate them manually if you would prefer Alma to just draw your attention and you execute the claim. Again, you can talk about sending them. Alma can do that work for you. And we're going to talk about the automation options in the last session of the series. Then I also wanted to draw your attention to this piece of documentation talking about how claims are generated for different PO line types. So just be aware of how Alma manages those. And I'm always going to try to push you to our doc. Oh, Here's according to the different types and how they're calculated. Okay, a lot of good information here. That. Oh, let's get back into Alma. And let's go, if we go to acquisitions claim. So this is my claim list. Oh, and it's going to be messy. It's going to be messy in this database, I promise. But you can see the different purchase types if I want to narrow it down, the different vendors owning libraries. Now, what are my options? I can change the expected date. So if I check this, heck, that's really old, isn't it? Let's make it, let's bring it up to date. And let's say I expected, I'm going to give it another 2 weeks. So that'll take it off the claims list and it'll come back on if that date doesn't pass or passes and it's still not taken care of. So that is the change the expected date option. Another thing you can do if you are just letting Alma do your alerts, I could come in here to communications and start the communication and I would submit the claim manually. This will go out automatically from Alma. So those are your options to take on the claim list in Alma. I saw a question come in just out of the corner of my eye. What is a blended search? Whatever you call it, search everything. This is searching my local Alma content plus the central discovery index. So the article level content out, not just what we own in the library. So see, here's an article. This would not show up and it's coming out of the Indian Journal of Surgery. So this would not show up if I was only searching my local, just searching Alma. Here's another article. So how do we get it? We have to link back to, this article, this journal, this date. So a blended search, you are searching both the library catalog and the central discovery index. A filtered search is things that are active in Alma, whether, and that's really getting into the just central discovery index. Because if I do, let's change this. I want to test something out really quick. See how if I'm only searching my library catalog, there is no expand my results. The filtered search is everything you have active in CDI. CDI says, yes, they own it. Here's the linking. What you're doing when you say, activate this in Alma, what you're doing is you are turning on this flag here. And your borrower should get to the resource. It should be a positive outcome. They should get the full text. They should get the abstracting and indexing, whatever it is. That's the filtered search. Ooh, we got into some good Primo topics here. We do have a Primo masterclass. We'll probably be running it later this year. Gosh, I forget how many. I did it last year. It's a lot of sessions, but we break it down piece by piece. I think we typically run that series once a year. We do an analytics masterclass, my team does, and we do this Primo become an expert. So we're not doing them the first half of the year, I can tell you that. We're still planning our second half of the year. Okay, Okay, so we went through that. We looked at claims. We looked at those dates. We looked at that. We looked at that. The claiming job. If that job isn't running, it should be running in your environment. If it's not, you need to open up a case and or support case, and we'll enable that in your system. I talked about your options. You can either change the expected due date, or if you want to manually create a claim, edit the PO line, go to the communications tab, initiate a claim, or add a response if you get a response back. Always trying to point you to our documentation. Remember our knowledge center. We have our LibGuides, and remember all of our documentation is indexed out in Google. Just type in Alma, whatever you're looking for. You'll find some good stuff out there. We do have a team of staff doing premium services. These are paid services. If you need more individualized training, optimization, config. I used to love doing these, going in and after you're live about a year and saying, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And we really tweak what you're doing. They're kind of fun. Next week, we're going to be talking about physical resources. We're going to receive our books. We're going to receive continuous orders, including publication patterns. That's everyone's favorite. We'll also talk about standing orders and some post-receiving processing as well. Yala, is there anything else I need to address before we close out the session?
I think we still have one Rialto question about claims. So this is something we'll need to research.
Okay.
The rest, I think, yes.
Now, last week I failed to grab the chat, so I'm going to go in and grab the chat so I can work on the Q&A documents. And I need to still put the Q&A together from last week. So I'm going to stop recording. So thanks everyone for your time. Please fill out the survey at the end. That really helps with me changing what I do, changing how I do it, etc. So I'm going to close that. There we go. Now, before I close out of here, I'm going to grab that chat so I don't mess it up. Select all. There we go. And I will put together, I have to go back to the recording to put together last week's Q&A. And I just haven't been able to do that yet. Thank you, Yala, for your help.
Thank you so much.
And we'll get these Q&As out to you. Have a good day. What's up?
I thought if you had another reason to say it last night because the girls were in.
Oh, for calling? No, I just want to let you know I had furniture.
Oh, okay. Oh, the papa was worried that you had a problem.
Oh, no. I was laying on my couch, man. It was pretty awesome.
Last night you were?
Yeah, when I called you, I was like, whoo. What? Yeah. No, I can only lay gay. I lay direct. Okay.
Played phase 10 with them.
Oh, fun.
It's fun with Vicky. It's Gloria. She's something else, Jeff. Vicky asks the same questions every year. But she's still the nicest. Gloria is just all about herself, I tell you.
I got some people like that in my life, so.
Oh my God. Yeah, if you're not talking about Gloria, you're not talking. Yeah, and then she'll pound on the table and she'll hit Vicky and she's dramatic about everything. Wow. She's been taking these courses and a few in person. Voiceover.
Oh, yeah.
She's been doing this pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Now has a demo video to send out.
Okay.
Lady friends that are coming in town from Georgia that are high rollers.
Yeah. And the big realtor lady.
Yes, yes. Molly and Germ, they call her. Her name's Kathy Joe, but they call her Germ.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, so Molly and Germ hit town today. Well, they're gonna go down and see them. They're staying at the Wynn.
Oh.
Because the one puts thousands of dollars. Germ was supposed to play golf at Wynn, which I know is over $500 a round. But she hurt her foot, so she's not gonna play. And they're going